It's not fair. 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 Have you heard this before? You ever heard it coming out of your own mouth? It's not fair. It's such, I can't even read the words without reading them like it's a whiny little kid. It's not fair. Okay. I was thinking a lot about this statement. It's not fair. And here's the deal. It's almost always said like a complaint, but what if every time we saw the statement, it's not fair, heard the statement, it's not fair, or thought to ourselves, it's not fair, we changed it from a complaint to a celebration? Now, here's what I mean by that. It's not fair. We all get that. Life's not fair. But it's not fair, I think, probably more often in a positive way than in a negative way. Like every time that you've been driving a motor vehicle and you exceeded the legal limit for speed and you did not get a traffic violation, it's not fair. Isn't that good news? Every time you were at work and you did something with your time that wasn't job related and you didn't get written up for it, it's not fair. And that's a good thing. And if we start thinking that way, I think we'll realize that there's all kinds of things in life that, hey, you know what? It's not fair, and that can be a big woohoo. So let's try this. Wherever you are, I'm going to say, it's not fair, and then you shout out woohoo. It's not fair. Woo! Exactly. And that's a major shift in thinking. If we want to really think about how unfair it is, we can think about our man, Jesus. Our guy. If you're a follower of Jesus, if you're a Christian, then Jesus is your guy. That's our guy, our main man, Jesus. You want to talk about not fair? Here is the perfect Son of God. Love in flesh. God personified. The one who created everything, the heavens and the earth. The one who so loved us that he would leave heaven and come to earth to die for us. The one who never sinned, who never lied, who never hurt anyone, who never had a vicious or mean-spirited thought towards anyone. The perfect Son of God. And yet he was the most hated person who has ever lived. You want to talk about it's not fair? If you want to talk about it's not fair, then let's talk about our guy, Jesus. And so as we're doing a study of the Psalms together, looking at the 7 different Psalms where Jesus quoted from the Psalms and unpacking what they look like, our memory verse is found in Luke chapter 24, verse 44. And wherever you are, I hope you'll read this scripture out loud and hear God's words coming out of your own mouth. Let's read this together. He said to them, "This is what I told you while I was still with you. Everything must be fulfilled that was written about me in the law of Moses, the prophets, and the Psalms." And so Jesus quoted from the Psalms as a way of reminding us and his disciples when he said these words, that this was part of the plan, that the Father knew this all along and that Jesus himself was not surprised by this at all. And so our first point is this: it's not fair. Where was the woohoo? I don't understand how we missed that. I completely set everyone up for that. And here, I know online got it. They were there. They were ready to roll with it. They were woohooing. But I'll say it again. Our first point is it's not fair. Yes. It's a good thing that it's not fair. And so Jesus quoted from Psalm 69, and he said this in John 15, verse 23, or verse 25, John 15, 25. Jesus said, "But this is to fulfill what is written in their law. They hated me without reason." And so Jesus is speaking to his disciples, and he quotes this phrase, "They hated me without reason." And the context where Jesus is speaking this is he has shared the Last Supper with his disciples, and then he's trying to prepare them for what is going to happen to him. That Jesus is going to be arrested, that he's going to be put on trial, That he's going to be falsely accused and beaten and mocked and stripped naked and hung by nails on a cross and left to die between two criminals. And he is going to die. And then he proceeds to tell his disciples, like, a time will come when, like, anybody who kills you will think they're doing a favor for God. He's telling his followers, you're going to follow me, but understand these things are going to happen to me. And if they happen to me, they're also going to happen to you. And so he shares with his disciples, if they hate me and you follow me and you talk like I talk and you live like I live and you do the things that I do and you love like I love, then you too will be hated. And it's not fair. Woohoo. And we begin to process that here Jesus is saying, it's not fair and that's just fine. Psalm 69 is a psalm of David. David was a man who was after God's own heart, and yet he had enemies, people who were coming against him, people who were power hungry or wanted the throne or didn't agree with the decisions he was making. And there was always pressure around him. And so he calls out to God. Psalm 69, we'll read the first 12 verses. It says, "Save me, O God, for the waters have come up to my neck. I sink in the miry depths where there is no foothold. I have come into the deep waters. The floods engulf me. I am worn out calling for help. My throat is parched. My eyes fail looking for my God. Those who hate me without reason outnumber the hairs on my head. Many are my enemies without cause, those who seek to destroy me. I am forced to restore what I did not steal. You, God, know my folly. My guilt is not hidden from you. Lord, the Lord Almighty, may those who hope in you not be disgraced because of me. God of Israel, may those who seek you not be put to shame because of me. For I endure scorn for your sake, and shame covers my face. I am a foreigner to my own family, a stranger to my own mother's children. For zeal for your house consumes me, and the insults of those who insult you fall on me. When I weep and fast, I must endure scorn. When I put on sackcloth, people make sport of me. Those who sit at the gate mock me, and I am the song of drunkards." Which that part I kind of like. I wouldn't mind being the song of drunkards. That kind of sounds like I don't know what a good Bo Chancey drinking song would be, but it could be solid. I don't know. But you look at this, and what David here is saying is like, God, they hate me without reason. And God understands this. This is one of my favorite things about God, because God became flesh and Jesus came and made his dwelling among us. We've seen his glory, the glory of the one and only who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. And he lived a perfect, sinless life, and yet people hated him without reason. And we can scratch our heads and say, well, why is there so much hate? I personally believe that the primary reason we hate people is that we hate ourselves. I think this is the primary reason. When there is hate inside of us and we don't see ourselves as God sees us, we don't see ourselves as loved by God and treasured by him, then we have to do something with that hatred that's in us. It needs an outlet. And so it comes out and it just spews out, and we try to direct it. But the problem with hate is a dominant emotion. We think we can handle hate, but we really can't. When we start spewing hate is now what we've tapped into, and that's the well we're drawing from. And so we can say, well, no, I just hate that person, or I just hate that type of person, or I just hate those people. But before you know it, hate is tainting everything and every relationship and every word and every action, and we're miserable. And so, as Jesus said, they hated me without reason, he's quoting right back to this psalm where David says, those who hate me without reason outnumber the hairs on my head. He's like, they're too many to count, is the expression that he's referring to here. And what Jesus says here is basically, it's not fair, but that's okay. He's going to take all of that. I do think it's an interesting thing where we might look at Jesus and say, well, he is the most loved human who's ever lived, but he's also the most hated who has ever lived. God in flesh, love personified, loved and hated, and it's true that it is not fair. As I was reading through this, one of the things I noticed was David said these words. He says, I'm forced to restore what I did not steal. So he's being falsely accused of things, and he's making restitution for things that he's really not even guilty of, which is exactly what Jesus came to do for us, was to make restitution for our sin, to receive my death and your death and the death of all humankind inside of him, to put that to death on the cross, to deal with it once and for all. He was making restitution for us. But it was interesting when I read that, I remembered a story I told a while back in one of our messages. And the story was about a time when I was in the 7th grade, and I had a classmate named Roger, and Roger wore glasses. And the way that I told the story, and is the way it happened, is I was accused of stealing Roger's glasses. And I assure you, I did not steal Roger's glasses. And the assistant principal kept calling me into the office, and he found a witness who said I stole Roger's glasses, but the witness was lying and not telling the truth. He was my friend Jason Eggle. And so this went on all day. When I finally went home, my dad realized something was wrong, and I told him, I said, the assistant principal did this, and I was accused. My dad went up to the school, and he took care of business. And then we went home, and my mom found out, what happened and what my dad had done, and then she made a phone call and took care of business. And I was thinking about that story because after I told it, I didn't really give any resolution beyond that. And so some people had asked me, well, what happened to Roger's glasses? There was still this mystery about where were Roger's glasses. Well, it was never a mystery for me. Even while it was happening, Roger lost his glasses all the time. He found them at the bottom of his locker the next day. So no big shock there. Roger's glasses were where they always were. He just misplaced them and couldn't find them. So he did what we do sometimes when we lose something. My kids do this today. Instead of saying, I lost my wallet, somebody stole my wallet. Like we always want to put that blame somewhere. And Roger did what I think a lot of us have done. I did not take Roger's glasses. But as I thought about that, I went, well, I didn't take his glasses. I know that for a fact. But Roger earlier that day had made a presentation, and for his presentation, he had a couple of cap guns on a holster. It was Texas history, and he was doing, I think, a presentation on the Texas Rangers. And so he had these cap guns, and while we were walking back from the room where we were presenting into our classroom, I remember taking one of the guns out of the holster, and my friend Jason Eggle stood on the other side of him, and we tossed the gun back and forth over Roger's head while we were walking back to class. Now, I gave him his gun back. I didn't keep it, but he didn't let me use it. I didn't ask for it. I just took it. And then I teased him with it, which I'm sure I don't actually know because I feel like it's a bit of a moving target, but I'm pretty certain that in today's terms, this would be called bullying. And I didn't get in trouble for that. I didn't get in trouble for stealing his guns. I didn't get in trouble for bullying him. I didn't get in trouble for making fun of him. But what I did get in trouble for, I didn't do. And I had that moment of, it's not fair, and I've carried that with me for a long time. But in thinking about that and thinking in a new way, where it's not fair becomes a celebration instead of a complaint, I realized, if Jesus, the one who is perfect and the one that I want to follow, if he would endure all this for me, and he would endure all this for you, then maybe fair is not even anything I would want or expect. And the fact that I don't get what I deserve, I should rejoice in that. And I think it gives a new outlook on life when we do that. I think it also helps us when we realize how much God loves us, and that if God would choose to love us, despite all the things we've done. Because this, again, is where we get back to saying it's not about comparative holiness, comparing ourselves to other people, but really examining ourselves and seeing the things that we've said, the things we've done, the things we've thought that maybe we would even be ashamed to put words to. And God knows all of those. And yet he still chooses to love us. When we say yes to his love and we receive his love, now we become transformed by his love. And instead of being people who hate ourselves and therefore hate others, now we become free to love with this love that God gives in a very, very unfair way. And so I would propose to you that I don't think it's really fair when we hate anyone. It's not fair. It's not fair when we hate without reason, or when we seek to destroy, or when we insult or make fun of other people or mock them. And sometimes we think, well, it's really not that big a deal because, you know what, the people that are the targets of my hatred, they're not real people. They're maybe public figures, or they're in the public eye. They're politicians or famous people or things of that nature. And so we think it's okay for them to be the objects of hatred coming from us. And I can assure you that every one of those people is a child of God who is dearly loved. And that hatred harms us, and it's not what God wants for us, and He can deliver us and set us free from that. And here's what I can tell you. If we hate people we do not know, we will end up hating the people we do know. And chances are they'll return the hate. And it's a vicious, vicious cycle. And so we turn to Jesus when He says these words, "They hated me without reason." And yet that very night, Jesus would willingly be arrested, led away, and endure everything that He endured for us. This is a game changer. This is our guy, the one we follow. And so I understand it's not fair, but favor beats fair. Favor beats fair. So all this thinking about, well, we just want things to be fair. I hear this all the time. It's not that I want any extra. It's not that I want any more. I just want things to be fair. And I can assure you we do not want things to be fair. Because favor beats fair. We don't get what we deserve. That's the whole point of Jesus. That's the whole message of grace, this unmerited favor that He gives us. If it was just fair, then we would receive the wages of our sin, which is eternal death. But instead, God offers us favor, and favor beats fair. We keep reading there in Psalm 69 into verse 13. David continues, he says, "But I pray to you, Lord, in the time of your favor, in your great love, O God, answer me with your sure salvation. Rescue me from the mire. Do not let me sink. Deliver me from those who hate me, from the deep waters. Do not let the floodwaters engulf me, or the depths swallow me up, or the pit close its mouth over me. Answer me, Lord, out of the goodness of your love. In your great mercy, turn to me. Do not hide your face from your servant. Answer me quickly, for I am in trouble. Come near and rescue me. Deliver me because of my foes. You know how I am scorned, disgraced, and shamed. All my enemies are before you. Scorn has broken my heart and has left me helpless. I looked for sympathy, but there was none. For comforters, but I found none. They put gall in my food and gave me vinegar for my thirst." I think what David here is writing about is something that many of us have experienced. We're looking for love. We're looking for acceptance. We're looking for a place and where to belong. And we're desperate for that. And so we cry out, "Answer me, rescue me, deliver me." These words he says 2 different times: answer me, rescue me, deliver me. And David says, my heart is broken and has left me helpless. I looked for sympathy, but there was none, for comforters, and I found none. But in this prayer, David is turning to God. And so perhaps you find yourself in a situation where you're examining your life and those you have relationships with, and you find no sympathy, and you find no comforters. You find no one to help you. Well, who can you turn to? Well, you can turn to God. And you can cry out to Him and seek His favor. And instead of imploring and seeking God for what is fair, instead of saying, "God, you owe me," instead of saying, "God, I deserve this," instead of saying, "God, it shouldn't be this way," instead of saying to God, "Hey, you need to do your job better, God," we can go before Him and simply say, "God, I need your favor right now. I need your favor right now. Answer me with your favor. Rescue me with your favor. Deliver me with your favor." Because that's what God's favor is all about. And when we appeal to God in His favor and we begin to look for it and recognize it and understand it, then we can say, "Answer me," and He answers. This is God's favor. He answers. And so David prayed, answer me with your sure salvation. That's one of I think the greatest things about this salvation and the favor that comes from God. We can be sure and certain about it. Sure and certain are not relative terms, they're absolutes. And so the thing about God's salvation is it is a sure salvation. You can be assured of it. You don't have to sit there and wonder, am I saved? Am I not? Have I been good enough? Did I do enough good deeds? Have I done the right religious duties? Have I checked all the boxes? None of that applies. It's His favor and His sure salvation. And when it's based on Him, who He is, what He did, and what He promised to do, then we know that He has answered. And He has answered with His Son, Jesus. And Jesus is the answer. And Jesus is a sure answer. He is a sure answer. And so if you were to say to Him, answer me, I think Jesus would say, sure. I'm for you, not against you. I'm with you. I haven't left you. I will be there to the end because He is the end and He is our answer. This is God's favor. He also rescues. He is a rescuer. David's like, I'm in water up to my neck. I'm sinking in the mire. I'm disappearing here. I'm like about to not exist anymore. I'm almost gone. Come near and rescue me. And I wonder, are you in over your head? Are you drowning in something? Some sin that's just has got a grip on you and is sucking you down, pulling you in. And you can't escape it, and you know that there's nothing you can do. Are you crying out to Him, rescue me, because He rescues? So name the rescue you need. Put a name to it. God, I'm drowning in pornography, rescue me. God, I'm drowning in debt. Rescue me. God, I'm drowning with my thoughts. Rescue me. And He rescues because He is a rescuer. And this is how His favor is expressed. Lord, I need you. Rescue me. But here's the truth. The Lord must come near to rescue. Lord, come near and rescue me. If we're always running away from God and pushing Him away and keeping Him as distant as we possibly can, when we throw up our hands and say, rescue, then we're saying, grab hold and pull me out. Rescue me. And He also delivers. He answers, He rescues, He delivers. David prayed, deliver me from those that hate me. Deliver me because of my foes. We'll go back to that thought, though. The primary reason we hate people is that we hate ourselves. What if you are your own worst enemy? What if you refuse to see yourself the way God sees you? What if you refuse to believe the truth that you are dearly loved? He can deliver you from that. You can pray, God, let me see myself like you see me. God can deliver you even from yourself, from the hate we receive and the hate that we give. And so, yeah, it's not fair. Woohoo! And yes, favor beats fair. And I think this is the best part of all. The favor is available to everyone. Everyone. Here's some language you may have heard me say before. No matter who you are, no matter what you've done, no matter what's been done to you, favor is available to you. David continues, and I want you to take notice of how he prays for those who hate him and see if you resonate with this, because I may pick it apart a little bit. He says, may the table they set before them become a snare. May it become retribution and a trap. May their eyes be darkened so they cannot see, and their backs be bent forever. Pour out your wrath on them. Okay. Let your fierce anger overtake them. Wow. Okay, it's getting dark. May their place be deserted. Let there be no one to dwell in their tents, for they persecute those you wound and talk about the pain of those you hurt. Charge them with crime upon crime, and do not let them share in your salvation. May they be blotted out of the book of life and not listed with the righteous. But as for me, I like David's little twist here. Hey, these people who hate me, let's get rid of them for good. But as for me, afflicted and in pain, may your salvation, God, protect me. I will praise God's name in song and glorify him with thanksgiving. This will please the Lord more than an ox, more than a bull with its horns and hooves. The poor will see and be glad, and those who seek God, may your hearts live. The Lord hears the needy and does not despise his captive people. Let heaven and earth praise him, the seas and all that move in them, for God will save him. For God will save Zion and rebuild the cities of Judah. Then people will settle there and possess it. The children of his servants will inherit it, and those who love his name will dwell there. I think I can resonate and relate pretty well to the heartbeat of David here and what he's experiencing, those who hate him and without reason and are out to harm him and hurt him. He pours that out to God. And then he's like, okay, but as for me, I want something different than that. And I think this is one of the incredible things about Jesus. And David here, Jesus hadn't come yet when he wrote this. He did not have the indwelling of the Holy Spirit. We are in such an amazing place right now where we can see the full picture of what Jesus has done and how his salvation has come and that his favor is for everyone, including me and you. And so we don't have to withhold his favor from anyone. But I will tell you, you cannot give favor if you do not have favor. It's just a simple principle. We can't give what we don't have. But if we receive God's favor, then who would we be to deny his favor to others? That would be so foolish. And so we go back to this thought about fair. Like maybe you're tempted to still kind of go, well, wait a minute. No, I think I'm good on my own. I think I'd rather rely on my own ability. And I think I'd rather appeal to God for fair than for favor. Let me tell you what fair is. Fair is death. Fair equals death. And death is dumb when favor is available. I had an experience that kind of highlighted this for me. One of my least favorite things about New Hampshire is the lie that we don't have taxes in New Hampshire, because it's not true. Man, they get you coming and going. How about a sales tax? Let's just tidy it up. Okay, don't stone me. But my birthday is in July, so every July I have to spend so much money in taxes, registering the cars and getting them inspected and all the things involved in that. And I have a fleet of vehicles. I have 5 because we have so many drivers in our house. And so July was ending, and I needed to get the vehicles inspected. And so I called up a buddy who works at a shop, and he's like, yeah, you can start bringing them in tomorrow. So it's like an all-day affair. We're shuttling cars back and forth, in and out, getting them inspected. And so it started at 7:30 in the morning, and I hopped in our Jeep, and my son Ace, he got in the car that he drives, and we're going to drop his off first and begin the process, 7:30 in the morning. And we're driving to this place, and I've only been there once, so I'm going down the street. I've only been on one time in my life. And it's early morning. I've got my sunglasses on. There's a little glare on the window. The sun's coming up over the trees. It's bright. It's a pretty day, not in any rush or hurry. I'm coming down a hill, and there's a glare over the window, but I see a guy down at the bottom of the hill waiting on the side of the road, and he's got a dog, a big dog that he's walking. And I see him down there. I take notice of him, and all of a sudden I see him do this with his cell phone. And I've seen this before, like this angry person recording a video. And I'm like, why is he recording me? Now, it's something I want you to know. I also drive a 67 International Scout, which is a really cool car. So it is not abnormal for people to video my car while I'm driving. I'll look in the rearview mirror and they'll have their phone out and I'm like, could you watch the road? But they're videoing my car, side of the road, people taking pictures, or I'll come out into a parking lot and people are standing by the car taking pictures. But I'm like, I'm not driving the Scout. I'm like, this Jeep's pretty cool, but it's not that cool. And that guy looks mad. Like, what is he doing? So I checked my speed. I was going like 33, 34, and I'm like, it can't be. I mean, maybe it's 30 miles an hour, but I'm not really speeding. And all these thoughts are going really fast because I'm coming down the hill. And so I'm like, well, I don't know what to do. I guess I'll just smile and wave at the guy. So here he is. And so I'm getting ready to go. While I go by, when no lie, the dude steps out with his dog in front of my Jeep with the camera going like this. I was like, hit the brakes. That far from him. And he goes like that. I'm like, what are you doing? And he goes, there's a crosswalk. I'm like, okay. So he walks by. So now I'm like, I got to talk to this guy. I roll the window down. I'm like, dude. And he goes, I'm like, how dumb are you? No, this is a public service. How dumb are you? He goes, there's a crosswalk there. I go, yeah, I see it now. You're right. I was wrong. But how dumb are you? And he goes, there's a sign. I go, again, you're right. I'm wrong. But how dumb are you? He goes, learn how to drive. I go, dude, is being right worth dying? And he goes, and walked off. I was like, what in the world? Like, yeah, you're right. I see the crosswalk now. No glare, no guy with a phone videoing me, nothing distracting me. There's the sign. Okay, I didn't see it. And when we got to the place, Ace is like, dude, what happened? And I was like, that guy wanted to die for being right. And I thought about it. I was like, you know what, dude? He must walk that way every day. And he probably gets to that place and he's wanting to cross the road and cars don't stop for the crosswalk because it is tough to see and it's a weird place for a crosswalk, but okay. And he got tired of it, so now his new plan is to video people hitting him while he dies. Well, I figured it was a great life lesson for my son. Hey, being right's not worth dying for. And I'm sure he stood on the side of the road there and thought, it's not fair. I'm the pedestrian. This is a crosswalk. I have the right of way. These cars should stop for me. Therefore, I will step out in front of the guy with awesome hair in the cool Jeep. But let me tell you, fair equals death, and death is dumb. God didn't create you for that. He created you for life. And so we can hold on to our notions of fair and what we think we should have and what we deserve and what people ought to do and how it could be and all these other thoughts, and just keep perpetuating that same death over and over again, being angry, but it's dumb. There is favor available to everyone, and it's available to you right now. And so I hope you will say yes to God's favor, because now is the time of God's favor, right now. And that you will say yes and receive his favor. One way we do that and remember his favor is when we share communion together. Jesus took bread and he broke it. And he said, this is my body, which is given for you. And he invited his friends and for all of us to say yes to him and the favor that he has expressed to us by taking and eating and remembering what he's done for us. And so as we take and eat together, this reminds us of God's favor. Let's eat. And the cup, Jesus took it and he said, this cup represents the blood of a new covenant, a new promise, that he would die for us, for you. And it was poured out for everyone, including you. And so this cup is for you, and when we drink, we're saying yes to the King, to the King. As we go before the Lord, I assure you that he will answer you. He will rescue you. Name the rescue you need. Call out to him. And he will deliver you. And so I want to invite you to spend a few moments being still before God and praying and calling out for him to answer, rescue, and deliver you. Let's spend this time with him right now.